And then now Micah Parsons is chirping about the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, Micah Parsons is always chirping though, and I don't have a problem with players having a podcast, but when you use it as an outlet and you're kind of just tearing other players down, and it's not even like a controversial type of way, and I don't know if he's trying to be controversial, but it more just comes across as him being either out of touch or dumb. Whether it's
Or
him,
even a hater.
yeah, or a hater, whether it's him saying that he has seen everything when he's only played 3 years in the NFL, that kind of raises an eyebrow. And especially when you are a player of that caliber, you need to be looking for ways to improve. You need to have the Tom Brady aspect where at 35, 38, Tom Brady is like, yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still getting better every single day. Where Micah Parsons is just like, yeah, no, it's been 3 years, man. I think I've seen everything. Or you have the 49ers game earlier this year where they go 42-10 on you, and then Micah Parsons was like, oh well, I didn't think it'd be that personal, but if you want to make it personal, we can make it personal, but I really don't think we're like 42-10 away from the 49ers. You're like, right, you're not. You are 48-16 away from the Green Bay Packers. And then he goes and he's like, TJ Watt tweets after the game, he's like, yeah, whatever, nothing I haven't dealt with before from being snubbed, because he led the league in sacks. But Micah Parsons goes on his podcast to say, not only do I not think TJ Watt, you shouldn't have been Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think you're a top 5 rusher in the league. And then he goes on this tangent and he's like, obviously number 1 is me. Like, no, you're not the best pass rusher in the league. You're not on the same level as Aaron Donald. You're not on the same level of TJ Watt. TJ Watt had more sacks than you. TJ Watt has had 3 years in the NFL where he's led the league in sacks. Has Micah Parsons ever led the league in sacks in his career?
He has not.
He hasn't led the league in sacks in his career. And then he's saying, Nick Bosa, as much as I love Nick Bosa is not on the same level as a TJ Watt. And then Myles Garrett and TJ Watt are the de facto best defensive players in the league right now. And really what it comes down to is who led the league in sacks. It doesn't matter how many times he was double teamed. It doesn't matter how much Alex Highsmith was double teamed, which is something he brought up in his podcast. It matters who had the most sacks when it comes down to. That's really the key indicator on who the best pass rusher is. And TJ Watt has done that not once, not twice, but 3 times now. And you're not saying he's the best pass rusher in the league when he can arguably be one of the best pass rushers in NFL history, and he's already better than his older brother JJ Watt.
Yeah, and you look at the numbers to the first 100 games too. He's breaking all these different records. I think he has the most sacks by anybody in the first 100 games. Him and Myles Garrett are neck and neck there, but you want to talk about a person who completely changes their team when he's not there. Look at their record with and without him and how different it is. And that's including like not really different offensive schemes either. So we talk about his value to the Steelers and how much they mean. Saw how much they missed him in that Bills playoff game that they had earlier this year. And then everything else, like the way he's led the league in sacks, the way he's impacted that defense, like you want to say that he's not the best top 5 pass rusher. You want to put yourself there? Sure. Confidence, whatever. I don't care. But to say he's not a top 5 pass rusher, that's to me feels personal. And that feels like a personal jab at that point. Because TJ Watt, since he's come into the league, he's consistently wreaked havoc on everybody. You have to plan for TJ Watt specifically because of the shit that he can do, whether it's touchdowns, whether it's forced fumbles, interceptions, sacks. He's all over the field at any point in the game.
Yeah, it's all over the field at any point in the game, and the Steelers have a losing record without him. And then with him, they're a above average team in the NFL this year. And the fact that he always shows up when the game matters the most, where it comes down to it, it always comes down to a TJ Watt batted pass. It's coming down to him getting an interception. It's coming down to him getting a strip sack, where Micah Parsons, when it comes down to it, you've played 4 playoff games and you've gotten 1 sack. You're not the best pass rusher in the league if that's the case. You're not on the same level as Bosa, Donald, TJ Watt, or Miles Garrett, and it's
Max Crosby too.
yeah, or Max Crosby, who plays pretty much every snap, and the amount of snaps he played compared to everyone else in the league was absolutely unheard of this year, where Max Crosby has taken his workout regimen seriously and the way he's dedicated himself to being the best player he can be. For someone who was a third round pick or a fourth round pick coming out of Michigan, no one really believed in him. And then he transformed himself to not only one of the best players in the league, but someone who could change the entire focus and mentality of a franchise and say, hey, if you don't want Antonio Pierce on this team, I don't want to be a part of this Raiders culture. And he's doing that for the betterment of the Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw how great the Raiders defense was that second half of the season. Once when Josh McDaniels left the building, their defense was top 5 in the league at one point statistically after he had taken over the helm. So, and I think a lot of that goes to Max Crosby. So I honestly think whether it's Myles Garrett, whether it's TJ Watt or Max Crosby, any of those three guys, I think that those guys, I think, were the clear winners for the defensive player of the year. And I was okay with any of those three. I didn't understand why Deron Bland was there.
Yeah.
We've made jokes about that many times. And Micah Parsons, I feel like, is there because he's a Cowboy. If he's not a Cowboy, where does he fall in that ranking? Still think he's very talented. Still think he's great. Super athletic, of course. But I think that, I don't know. I don't like what he's doing there. And it kind of comes to his maturity level at that point. And that's my biggest issue with Micah Parsons. I think he's obviously one of the most talented pass rushers in the league. But I feel like he hasn't quite gotten to that mature level that you have with TJ Watt. Not quite the leader that you have with Myles Garrett either. And even Max Crosby is to that same point. Like, the issue that I have with Mike Parsons is his maturity level. He's got to mature if he's going to be great.